you're saying is don't swear.
You can swear. You can swear. This is a pretty relaxed show. But no, yeah, thank you. And I know you've been busy. I've been watching across social media. You've been at Prestonfield House a bit in the last couple of days for Doodie, for the Bill McLaren and everything. How's your time in Edinburgh been so far?
Oh, it's been amazing. I promised, I promised the foundation back in 2011. Linda and Alan sort of caught up with me, and I said I'd love to do it because Bill McLaren was such an important part of my life when I was growing up. I'll never forget. I can still see the image of a 9-year-old JK getting up in his pajamas, winter pajamas, and being allowed to get up at 3 a.m. to watch, Scotland or England or whatever was happening in the UK, and the silky, beautiful voice of Bill McLaren coming over the airwaves, and it was just so romantic. It made you want to dream that you wanted to be there, and it was this big world, and the heroes that for us when we were young were the All Blacks. So I did that, and that was fantastic. And I also wanted to do something for Doodie as well while I was here, so that was really nice to be able to just be a little part of that function and show my support. So and then I did Scott's quiz night straight after the long lunch. So it's been a bit hectic.
A bit hectic.
Yesterday I had a great day, man. They're both great days because we had a good time. But there was a young New Zealander here who's doing some brewing. So we went to Holyrood Distillery yesterday. It was a blast, and tasted Nick, who's from good old NZ, is one of the brewers there. So we just had a great day, and so it's been neat. Thank you. And we need to fix it up today by having the All Blacks having a good win, mate. I know you won't want to hear that, but there we go.
I certainly do not. We'll get into the rugby in a minute. Just on Bill McLaren, when I was in primary school, I wrote Bill McLaren a letter and asked him, the project, believe it or not, I was doing was on the effects of rugby going from amateur to professional.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a response from Bill McLaren on an old typewriter. And then halfway through this sort of essay that he sent me back, it's all handwritten because he writes, Alan, typewriter packed in, here's the rest. So I've got a typewritten letter from Bill McLaren that goes into handwritten, all signed by Bill. So a very cherished document that I actually sent on to the Bill McLaren Foundation years ago.
Beautiful.
Through the Rory Lawson connection. So no, I mean, what you've done, the names you mentioned there, Bill McLaren and Doodie, obviously legends of Scottish rugby. And just on Doodie and Doodie Aid, obviously, come January, we'll be getting into all the fundraising and everything that we do. But what was the energy like in that room at Prestonfield when you were there doing the Doodie dinner?
Oh, it was amazing. And I think, you talk about legends and you talk about greatness, but it doesn't have a lot to do with the rugby field for me. That is your vehicle. That is your given gift, right? So you've been given it from God or Allah or whoever you want to believe in, your mum and dad, DNA, whatever. But then using that vehicle for the greater good, I think, is fundamental. And so what Doodie has done through his adversity is incredible. He was there the other night, and to be fair, I got a bit of a shock because I probably wasn't ready for where he was with his challenge. So for me, it was very, very emotional. But the way that he has been able to absolutely and completely change an illness and where he's got it to, with the help of Jill and everybody who's given 5 cents, it's just inspirational. And one of the things I do for my personal mental health is I look for inspiration every day. And if you go looking for inspiration, you could find it, but it's not been too hard over the last few days to find inspiration,
Yeah, you've been in rooms packed full of just sort of the cream of Scottish rugby, and I've seen you've been on stage, you've been speaking to people, but the inspiration that people will have got from you to be at those events with what you've been through. And I can see there your jumper groove. You're obviously representing today. You've done so much yourself, but been through so much yourself, and you've openly talked about it. How are you right now? How are you sort of daily routine at the moment with working on yourself constantly?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really interesting. I told the story at the long lunch, and it seems to me that you might be a little bit behind here in Scotland about talking about your mental health. So get on with it, you guys. What bloody hell's happening? You know? So there's a little bit of it felt really interesting for me because it felt like there was a little bit of a shock in the room. Whereas in New Zealand, we've been sort of doing anti-stigma campaigns for a long, long time. But I guess where I've arrived, 5 years ago, I woke up, mate, and, you know, I felt like a failure. So I've been the face of mental health television campaigns in New Zealand for 15 years. 11 years ago, we created a thing called depression.org.nz. It was the first ever online tool that you could go in the safety of your own home with whoever you wanted and get some help for your mental health. It won awards all around the world, brother. Like, it was just unbelievable. That was an interesting journey in itself, and I'll tell you about that maybe some other time. But our suicide rate when I woke up 5 years ago is the wrong way. By the end of today, a New Zealand male will be dead by suicide, and tomorrow night, 2 males and 1 female. 700,000 people committed suicide last year, my bad, you know? And so I always used to run away from failure. Failure always used to be something that scared me, you know? But once I embraced failure, I knew it was the only pathway to success, right? If you don't fail, and if you're scared of failure, then you go nowhere, right? So I looked at what I'd done and thought, how can I change this? What can I do to make a difference and actually the goal that I set out to do? So there's 2 things I looked at. You know, I love people to go into government, and this is no criticism of governments, but I just don't think in the modern world they can move fast enough to actually keep up with what society needs, right? Also, I don't know what the Scottish election system's like, but in New Zealand, it's basically 3-4 years. You know, the first year you can get some shit done, and then the next 3 years, everyone's defending themselves. And, you know, I just don't think they move fast enough. So that's my observation and mine personally. So I just thought, unless we change what we're doing, man, these stats are going to continue to go the same way. So what I did is, for about a year, I raised $250,000, and I facilitated with child psychiatrists and psychiatrists, college, you know, headmasters, teachers, tech entrepreneurs, marketing gurus, artists, you know, musicians. And I got all those people in the room and said, what do we need to do? And basically what came out of it was, we need to create a curriculum-based program for schools. And that was amazing. So initially I thought, oh, it's got to be secondary schools, and they said no, it should be primary schools. So by the time our kids get to secondary schools, they need this shit, right? So that was the first learning. The second learning has got to be curriculum based, man. You've got to build this. So we commissioned the University of Auckland to build a curriculum, and it's based on a mana model, which is a Māori model, which is really, really strong. And so we built that out. The third thing was, do not put any pressure on our schools, human resource wise or financially. So we created coaches that go into the schools, and they upskill the teachers in that school to put the curriculum in. And it's been incredibly successful. We've been testing it. We treat it like a business. We test it as we go, and the results have been amazing so far. So we're about to scale, and I'd like to get into every primary school in New Zealand. So there's 1,900, and by that we think we can change the stats, and New Zealand can go from one of the worst suicide rates in the world to the best. The second thing I did, and this is why I'm wearing my Groove shirt, is what are our communities now? And it was the lovely thing about Scotland, and you should keep this up, is club rugby is still a really important part of your community, and that's really, really important. But also businesses are communities. So if we think the government's going to move too slow, what is the best thing to do to get mental health to the end user and they don't have to pay, right? And so I was very, very fortunate. I met my business partner, Adam Clark, who's had an amazing tech background. And we've created a digital solution for the workplaces that empowers the individual to have a daily mental health plan. We lift the leaders so they can lead this, mate. Like for us, I talk about performance care. The modern world, if you want performance, you've got to genuinely care for your people. Those two conversations have always been different. So we deliver a digital solution into the workplace, and then we make sure that we can sort of optimize, you know, make sure that the environment is also a fantastic place for people to work. So that's called Groove. Our goal is to reach 100 million people and save 100,000 lives. And at the moment, we're in Australia and New Zealand, and obviously we've come to the UK to see if there's any possibility, because there's not 100 million people in New Zealand, my brother.
No, absolutely. You need to get this message out there and get it global. With children, obviously, I've got 3 young kids myself. The goal there, is it changing values? Is it getting the thought process to them that when they are down or when they're feeling angry, to talk about it more? What's the process in children, starting them so young in primary school?
Yeah, bro, values is your job, man, as a parent. So you need to make sure that you are very, very strong on your values, and that's a challenge now. I don't know how old your kids are, but you know, technology is here to stay. And so that is a discipline that you need to understand and add a value to. So that's important. But our goal is to teach them everything IQ and EQ of mental health. So understanding your emotions, understanding diversity, understanding what you do with those emotions, why you're feeling like that. One of my favorite sayings that I had to learn was, I am not my emotions on my values. Emotions will pass. And I had to understand and identify my emotions when I was very, very unwell. So the job is to really make it a curriculum. Everything you need to know about mental health, you should know by the time you get to secondary school. So you should be able to deal with the emotion of being bullied. You should be able to deal with the emotion of being understanding anger, understanding happiness, and then having the tools. So I think when we talk about well-being and wellness, there's a lot of what I call EQ out there, you know, mindfulness, you know, going to yoga, doing all these things, that they're all great things for your mental health, but they're the EQ, they're emotional side. But why are you doing it? Why do you feel like this? How much do you need in your day? And at Groove, you know, I have a beautiful clinical team, and everything we do is clinical based. And I talk about my daily mental health plan, right? And at Groove, we call it the 6 pillars. Now, do you know that you get more inputs in one day today than your grandparents had in a lifetime, right? So what we need to teach our youth, and what we need to teach each other, is that you need a daily mental health plan. And it's not rocket science, but there are 6 things that you need to do in your day that will keep you well. And I think those things are fundamental, to teach our kids, but also to teach our adults, because, you know, 1 in 2 people right now around the world are suffering from burnout. And that's, you know, because of COVID. So, you know, for me, it's really, really fundamental that we talk about the stuff, break down the stigma, but then you've got to understand what you need, mate. You've got to understand what you need for your workplace, you know, for your workplace, for your home. There's no work-life balance anymore. So how do you deal with that? You know, so I was with this young guy the other day, probably as young as you, and he had young kids, right? And I'm with him and he goes, shit, right? He just got a text. And I went, what's going on, bro? And he says, fuck. My son just came 3rd in the swimming and I wasn't there. And I said, oh, congratulations, mate. That's really cool. And he said, oh yeah, I feel really guilty. I said, mate, my old man was an unbelievable father. He never came to my school races, you know? And I told him I got second when I got home. He said, right, son, let's go down the pool. You need to come first. You know what I'm saying? But there's all these things that are in our lives now that disrupt our emotions, you know? And so it's really, really important that you understand and, you know, and do that sort of stuff. So, you know, the 6 pillars, and let's see, I'm going to test you right now, brother. You're up for it?
Oh God, yeah, go on then.
So the 6 pillars are really important, and I went from surviving to thriving, and I'm thriving today, right? And that doesn't mean I'm not sad and have good days and bad days. That's just normal life. But the 6 pillars are, write them down, bro. Move, do, celebrate, connect, enjoy, and chill, right?
Yeah.
So for example, this morning I got up and I went to the gym.
Yep.
Now, I used to be a professional athlete. Now I'm just a fat old bastard. But I went to the gym, I had a cycle, and that's my do for the day. I feel better about myself. It wasn't actually about going to the gym. It was the feeling I got afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So that's the move. That I've done my move component for today.
So have I, JK. I was on the beach at 8 o'clock this morning with 10 dads from a local village.
Oh, is it too early in our relationship to say I love you?
No, never, John. No, never.
I hope you were
JK.
talking about mental health and shit. Were you talking about real shit or?
What's happened in my village is 4 times a week, 5:30 in the morning, very early, 8 o'clock on a Sunday, we're on the beach or we're in the local park, pulling tires, hitting battle ropes, running, talking. We've got a WhatsApp group that is relentless with conversation. We're going to rugby in December. We've got the Christmas night out. We had fireworks on the beach for about 100 people in our community. This started in June and we're called the Dads and Dudes. Okay. It's now rolling out to Edinburgh. We talk about vasectomies. We talk about kids that don't sleep. We talk about all sorts of shit. All sorts of shit. And these are all dads from kids in our village that 6 months ago, we were just, all right, mate, in the playground, we were not mates. This is now a tight unit.
That is so good. So I would put that in my, that would be in my connect, right?
Okay. Yep.
So this is really, really important because
Yep.
you mentioned a couple of things. We need to connect, right? But what is connection? And for me, connection is also my telephone and WhatsApp. That's okay. That's a cool way to connect. Like my son lives in Italy and I live in New Zealand and I see him on the telephone, I connect. But also connection for me is what you did this morning. I need my mates. I need to go and do that stuff. But also I connect with food, bro.
Yeah.
I connect with food. And so for me, connection with food, but also celebration. I look forward to connecting with food and connecting with friends. Those things are fundamental for your mental health and they keep you well. They make you more resilient because the trouble is with mental health, my man, is that all we talk about is the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, right? And when everyone's well and when everyone's been pushed off the cliff and the suicide rates. But actually, this is preventative mental health. You know, what you're doing by connecting and talking about, you know, vasectomies and all that shit, mate, that is connection. And there's other connections as well. And we're connecting right now. I'd love to be sitting in front of you, but, you know, COVID has given us this whole Zoom world. So those 6 things that you're doing today, what are you looking forward to tonight, man?
As a dad, can I say, on a Sunday night when the kids are asleep, the day is done, and Abby and I get to chill on a Sunday night.
Yeah, beautiful. That is so good, mate. But if you think about that feeling right now you've got, you know, quickly your mind went, wow, kids are in bed, sitting down with my beautiful wife. And that gives you a good feeling, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah.
And those things are important. I have something to look forward to every day. We're going to go out there today as All Blacks. We're going to do the haka in front of you. You're going to sing, you know, the Scottish national anthem, and then we're going to kick your butts.
But whatever, we'll get to that, JK. We'll get to that. We'll get to it. No, can I just say that? See, when I answered that quite quickly, in my mind, instantly went through my head was, will people think that I don't want to be with my kids today, or I'm trying to get them to sleep? You know, dads, we talk about that. When's bedtime? When's 7 o'clock? But I actually, after this, I'm straight to another beach with my family and Abby. Then we're straight back for the All Blacks game, watching it here with the kids and the family.
Bro, get rid of your guilt, my man. Get rid of your guilt. It's dumb.
Yeah, that's it. The guilt came through me there as I answered that question, but it's true. I'm allowed to look forward to relaxing with Abby with a cup of tea and a movie and not feel guilty.
And guilt is a bullshit emotion that actually, see, what you did right now is a really good mental health thing. So you had this guilt, you externalized it, and I go, it's bullshit, right? So automatically the guilt goes, and you go, right, JK. But a lot of us males and females, we internalize these emotions. And then what's happens is your brain will lie to you, bro. You know what I'm saying? You're an amazing dad. You're up, you're doing, you know, you're going to have a great day with them. You're going to watch footy. You know, they're going to go to bed because they're tired because they got an involved dad. That's the truth, right? And connection with your wife. And I'll give you another little rule that my wife and I did a long time. You're not allowed to talk about the kids, bro.
It's hard.
Oh, hey, I didn't say it'd be easy, my brother. Right? You remember the song? Oh, you probably not. You're not old enough. I like pina colada.
Yeah, I know that.
Out in the rain. No, I'm not into health food. I am into champagne. You gotta, as a couple, you've got to remember that shit, man, because it's really, really hard to do. But one of the things my wife and I do when we connect, you know, because we're busy, we take my dog or our dog for walks. Not really a dog; it's Bichon free. Right? It's like this little thing. But anyway, that's when we can connect. And 2 birds with 1 stone for your mental health is really, really important, right? So when I talk about 2 birds with 1 stone, you know, this morning I've done my move by going to the gym. But that can also be going for a walk with my wife, with the dog, and connecting with her, because we're busy, right? And so people say to me, JK, are you talking about mental health? Shit, yes, I'm talking about mental health. Man, you're busy, I'm busy, Mumsy's busy. We've got kids, like life's hectic, but we've got to take those moments, unplug the computer, and just really chill. And also those emotions, you know, those connecting emotions that you get, the emotions you get by looking forward to something. But this needs to be on a daily basis, man. People need a daily mental health plan.
Yeah, but I can see that from what the 6 pillars that you use, there's a few that double up. You can chill and enjoy yourself at the same time. You can move and celebrate. I mean, there's things like that. You can celebrate at the end of a session. You can celebrate when someone gets faster. You can celebrate when someone breaks their record. Those 6 pillars are extremely doable. And I think in a day, a lot of people won't actually appreciate how many they've achieved. They maybe just, just fly straight through a day.
Yeah, totally. And there's a couple of things that are really, really important. Your cell phone is not invited on your walk with your wife, bro. It's just not allowed, right?
Yeah, but did it happen if it doesn't go on Instagram?
Oh, I don't know, mate.
That's the way people work.
Who knows? Who knows? You know,
that's how it works.
The other day, I did something that I think is really important as a father. Okay, and I don't preach to anyone because, you know, everyone does their different things. But I did something at the you know, at the Bill McLaren thing, and I said, please don't film this, because I want you to remember it and tell it as a story, right? Because around the dinner table, we need to get back to telling stories, right? And Bill McLaren, you did not have to have the TV on, bro, right? If you turn the TV off and listen to Bill McLaren, he took you there, man. And he told you all about this. And storytelling around the dinner table, mate. Like I got my acromic clickler joint like smashed in 1984 on the All Black tour, and I got operated on Adelaide. You know, my kids thought I'd been attacked by a shark while swimming until they were about 13 or 14, right? Now, I didn't want to lie to them, but I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to have imagination. I wanted to, you know, and when you see something that you're emotional about, you're going to make it your own. And when you explain it to someone else, it becomes a story in its own right. And you tell stories to your kids about real life things. They have all these great moments, but you show them a photo, done, mate. She's all done. It's over.
I understand that. It can take away imagination. Yeah. You show them actually what happened, and that's it over for them.
Yeah. But you explain what happened, you know?
Yeah, they take you on a journey, and it takes you down their little mindset. Yep, I understand that. I can completely relate to that, because my kids 8, 7, and 5, they're all about imagination and all about excitement, and take them on that exciting adventure. I mean, time's flying in here. We've got so much to cover, but obviously with Scotland looking good for the win today, come on, what were you like on game day? What were you like on game day when you were playing compared to today when the All Blacks were playing?
I would have to put that into 2 parts of my career. So I had a clinical depression during my career. So pre my condition, so when I was pre having my depression and coming through the other side, full of doubt, full of nerves, very, very scared, you know, worried about failing, scared that I was going to be found out that I wasn't good enough. So it was hell on earth. And for me to get to the game and stay in the present for 80 minutes was very, very difficult. Then I suffered a depression, clinical depression, played during that, which was very, very hard. And then post that, it was a lot easier, because I put to bed some of the self-doubt. I had an imposter shark. I had a guilt shark. You know, I had I want to be liked shark. And I'll tell you that story another time, how I came to call them sharks. And I also have a monkey brain, mate. I call my monkey brain Bob the monkey. So I have a ruminating mind, right? So if I don't keep the monkey quiet, then it goes off on all sorts of tangents. So for me, it was horrible. And also my I was my my results and how I played. So I was too attached to the game. So if I played like shit, I had a shitty week. If I played well, I had a good week, because I could not detach myself. I could not detach John Kirwan from the athlete. And then post my illness, very, very different. So not as confident as I was. This is really weird. Not as confident as I was pre my depression, but way more confident as a person. So the pre-game was a lot different, less vomiting, less doubt, less sort of worried about the results. And then post, very much, I am not JK the athlete that should live on his results as an emotion.
How bad did that get when you were with the All Blacks and your emotions and depression? How bad did it get? And I take it at that time, through the 80s, early 90s, there was just nobody to talk to.
No, I didn't talk to anyone, and I wanted to jump out of a window one night on an All Black tour. So I had been hiding my anxiety. I'd have anxiety attacks. They'd come and go. And every time they left a scar. That scar was called fear. And then one night, and I was sick of fighting it, because a minute felt like an hour felt like a day, and a day felt like a week. And in my mind, I wasn't good enough, because anxiety and depression does three things: takes away your self-confidence, takes away your self-esteem, and it takes away your enjoyment in life. And life's pretty shitty without those things. So I was lying in a hotel room in Buenos Aires. The window was open on the 10th floor, and I decided I was sick of fighting it, and I'm going to run and jump out. I never planned my own suicide, mate. For that, I feel internally grateful. But I had suicidal ruminations a lot. And so what I did is I thought I was plucking up the courage to run and jump out. And the guy lying next to me said, JK, you've got a good heart, for no reason that we could work out. I spoke to him later on.
Who was that?
Michael Jones.
Yeah. And what did that do to you when he said that?
I said that word to myself for the next 36 hours. JK, you've got a good heart. 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 And I didn't jump out the window. I played a test match the next day. I scored 2 tries. It was totally irrelevant. It's like living in a dream. It's like watching myself from the stands, which I just recently found out is part of the illness, a disconnection with yourself, which was interesting. And then when I flew home, sort of 48 hours later, I went to my doctor and told him. And my doctor was the All Black doctor. I'd been away with him for 5 weeks, but wouldn't talk to him. And he said a few things that changed the direction of my life. And first thing he said is, JK, it's an illness, not a weakness. Fuck, hey? It's an illness, not a weakness, bro. Wow. So it's not me. No. Oh, so I don't, I've got, like, I'm no good, mate. No, that's part of the illness. I've got no self-confidence. Yeah, that's part of the illness. Oh, wow. I've got no self-esteem. Yeah, that's part of the illness. Oh, mate, I don't want to get out in the bed in the morning. Yeah, that's part of the illness. Far out. It's an illness. I can work on an illness. And so then I started this journey of understanding me, understanding my mind, learning the 6 pillars of my daily mental health plan. And I started with one thing. I was dead, mate. I was dead inside. And my mum, my beautiful mum, when I said to her, Mum, I'm dead, she said, boy, the good thing about you're dead is you're still here, bro. Which she didn't call me bro, obviously, because it's my mother. And she said, you need to smell the roses. That's what our elderly parents, they brought me up on sayings. And I went, wow, I wonder what smelling the roses is, because I got nothing to look forward to, mate. I hate it every single day, my son. And so I started the next day with a hot shower. But I didn't think about the past, and I didn't think about the future. I just enjoyed the water. And I still do that to this day. It's one of my daily mental health plans. And I feel the water. And I felt the water, the hot water this morning, and it was a godsend. But what that also started to teach me was mindfulness. You know, I want all your listeners to think about the last time they had a shower, and whether they were thinking about the future, or whether they're thinking about the past, or whether they're just enjoying the water, right? So what happened was I started with that shower, and then I started what I call habit stacking. You know, I started putting other things on top of it. And so, you know, my daily mental health plan starts with a hot shower where I feel the water. Then I habit stack it with a cup of coffee, but I brew the coffee and my phone's not invited. And I sit there and taste the coffee. Another challenge for your listeners: don't ever get a cup of coffee in a takeaway cup and walk down the road with it, man. You ain't going to taste that shit. That's about the caffeine. You deserve 5 minutes out of your day to sit there and enjoy it and take that moment and look around. And don't invite your phone. The asshole will get in the way and tell you you've got emails, right? And then I just started building on those other things. You know, I learned breathing techniques, which I put into my day 6 times a day. You know, I tried meditation and it nearly killed me again. And I went back to my psychiatrist and she said, well, JK, meditation is amazing. And if you can do it, you should. But 30% of the population can't. And that's when I learned about, you know, my ruminating mind, my monkey brain. And so I also am what I call an active relaxer, mate. I don't know if you've heard that before, but, you know, I can't sit around to relax. Like if the Netflix show doesn't appeal to me in 2 minutes, Bob the monkey's gone.
You're going to cook. You like cooking.
I love cooking, mate. And that's 2 birds with 1 stone, man.
Yeah.
Who else do you think loves me cooking, brother?
A good lady.
There it is. She thinks I'm all right, bruh. Hey,
Yeah.
how good is that? So that's 2 birds with 1 stone. So Bob the monkey goes into his cage and has a banana, right? I love my cooking. It's also something to look forward to, which is what we spoke about before. Some days when I'm under pressure, I'll be thinking about the menu, what I'm going to cook. I'm going to stop at the butcher shop, all that sort of stuff, you know, and it just lightens up your day. And so that's 2 birds with 1 stone. And I also love reading. I taught myself to read when I was 18 because I'm a little bit on the dyslexic scale. And, you know, so reading before I go to sleep is fundamental because Bob the monkey, he hates reading. And he goes into his cage and has a banana and goes to sleep, and then I can go to sleep. So the other thing I do is I took up the guitar during COVID. I am shit, mate. Like even the dog leaves the room, I'm so bad. Bob the monkey loves it. You know, he goes into his cage. He hates it, Bob the monkey. Goes into his cage and has a banana. And I feel incredibly, you know, it's like putting your brain into a washing machine and bringing it out again.
Yeah. JK, can I ask you, Michael Hooper, obviously he stepped away from the game, very open, captain of Australia, prolific player. That was extremely brave of him. What's your take on what happened to him? And it's great to see him back now, but were you delighted that he stood up and said, I need to walk away right now?
I was so proud of him, man. Like, it's so important that our young leaders and role models talk about this stuff and say it's okay for this stuff to happen. So I was so incredibly proud for him. I don't wish that he'd had it, you know, because when I was in there, it was hell, and I understand how hard it is and how difficult it is. But I'm just so proud that he came out and took some time, and that the Australian Rugby Union were really accepting, and so were the players. It's just so good. So yeah, he's I can't wait to see him and thank him for what he did, because I think it's amazing. You know, we need to give our people, everyone's got mental health, man, you know what I'm saying? Everyone's got mental health, and we just need to talk about it a whole lot more and talk about the solutions and the prevention, not when, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to jump about a little bit. Obviously, a team that's very close to your heart, Italy, yesterday. Huge win over Australia. What, are you delighted with that one for them? Yeah,
mate, I've got 6 of my mates there. We won the championship in 1989 for Benetton Rugby. And so we're all, you know, they've come over for the weekend to enjoy it. And so I was with them yesterday and we were watching it in the Three Sisters pub, which is like this classic bloody, it's like old school, 150 screens everywhere and everyone's having a good time. And so we watched it and they actually deserved to win, I believe. They could have lost it at the end, but I thought they played incredibly well. So, you know, they're dear to me, the Italians. I coached them. I'm just so happy. One of my great mates coaches them in Kieran Crowley. I'm here with Craig Green, who also lives in Italy. So the back three, we were just stoked for them and they played well. And there's some really interesting results, right? So South Africa beats France and I mean, the Japanese probably didn't back up like they would have wanted to, but there's all those results. Fiji played well against Ireland. I didn't see the Welsh game. Who did Wales play?
They beat Argentina.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they came back and beat Argentina. So a good win for them. But Argentina just, I mean, they've stepped up a notch to do what they did at England, to win in New Zealand, obviously. That's a team that we've got coming after the All Blacks. And God, serious team.
Yeah, but this is a really, I'm going to challenge you on that.
Mm-hmm.
Argentina haven't stepped up, mate. They've been great for 12 years. It's just that everyone underestimates them. You know,
Yeah.
they've been in the top 4 and the top 8 forever, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Point, yeah, fair point. But even Buffelli, the winger, I mean, they've got world class all over from 1 to 15 and beyond. So yeah, no, I take that.
I don't know why. I mean, we all do it though, brother. Like even New Zealand at home, when we beat them, we expect to beat them. Like we don't give them enough. I don't know why it is, but the whole world goes, "Oh, they're getting better, Argentina." Shit, no, they've been good for a long time, but we underestimate them, which I think is the really important thing. It'll be hard for Scotland because what happens when you play the All Blacks is the whole country can't wait for this week, right? And so even your bloody old auntie Lynn, you know, if you're a player, she's talking to you about, oh, what are you going to do when you're facing the haka? And how you know, and then after that, there's a bit of a down. So I think your biggest risk emotionally will be next week against Argentina.
JK, what do you think about the rugby as a game generally and globally at the moment? Is it exciting enough for the fans? Is there enough going on with the fans, the entertainment? The All Blacks bring the haka and bring real energy to whatever city they're in. Ireland, when they beat South Africa, obviously the stadium was jumping, but I was at the Fiji game for Scotland. It was quiet. A lot of people talking in the stands. You hear it from Twickenham when they played against Argentina that it was quiet. Do you think the fan experience is still there in World Rugby?
Nah, I think World Rugby need to get off their butts and change some shit.
Right.
We are a anaerobic game, right? And if you watch the female game over the last month, that is an aerobic game. So we've gone to too much power and there's too many stoppages in the game and it's not acceptable. So I think we need to be more fan-centric, and to do that, we don't need to build another rule book, which is what World Rugby tends to do. What I think we need to do is bring in some stuff. So 3 years ago, the NRL in Australia had a repeated 6 law, right? The first year they tried it, some of the forwards lost 5 kilos. They adjusted it the second year, and it's an amazing part of their game. So our game in the super final, in the last 5 minutes, there was 3.5 minutes of scrums. I love props, you know, I love them. I think they're beautiful men. No, I don't. But, you know, the crowd don't want to see you scrum for 3.5 minutes. So I would love to see the NBA time clock come in. You get a penalty, you've got 40 seconds to kick it out and throw it in. A scrum, 30 seconds. And you've got a count clock. Dun, 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 dun. We need to speed up our game. And that way, because everybody in rugby goes, oh yeah, it's a game for everyone. Bullshit. It's not a game for everyone anymore. You've got to be big, you've got to be solid, you've got to be, you know, a certain shape. And I think if we bring back some aerobic side by speeding our game up, more time with, so people don't look at their phones, mate. I go to some test matches and people have got time to look on their phones, right? That should not happen at an entertainment sport. You should be just fully engaged. So I would love the World Rugby to actually, mate, but sometimes they're a little bit like the government, you know, they have a meeting after a meeting after a meeting after a meeting where we need them to show some courage and make some change quick, because society is moving fast and our kids have other choices, right? Yeah. Like most of the kids in New Zealand, they're NBA fans. Hey, what do you mean you're NBA fans? My son walks in and he wants $180 for a singlet. Hey, come on, mate, where's your rugby jersey? So, you know, we need to move with the times, and I absolutely love this game. And while I can sit there and enjoy the modern football, because I study the breakdown and, you know, but you take someone along to rugby, they're going to ask you 450 million questions about what's going on.
Yeah, no, I understand a lot of good points in there. Something just, I won't keep you too much longer. I know you'll be getting along to Murrayfield soon, but 1994, am I right in saying your sort of All Black career came to an end, the powerful winger? And there was a certain Jonah Lomu emerging in 1994. What are your memories of Jonah?
My memories of Jonah is I don't room with forwards, mate. Right. So towards the end of my career, I'm not going to room with them. They're smelly, they're ugly. They go to the toilet, leave the door open. So I refused to room with forwards, right? So I'm lying on my bed and this massive guy walks in. I said, mate, Buffhead's down the hall, brother. I don't room with you. He said, nah, bro, I'm a back. I said, okay. And then we went out, and back in those days, we we're just starting to get a bit more professional and have you know, all sorts of different testing. So we went out and he won the 60, the 80 and the 100-meter sprint. And we're walking back, and the Buffheads used to have a pole, a jump pole, you know, the locks, they have a jump pole, and, you know, to go from 1 to 10, and there was 1 and 2 left up the top. And he said, hey, bro, what's that? And I said, oh, mate, that's the Buffheads jump pole. And obviously our locks haven't been able to get to number 1 and 2. And he jumped and got 1 and 2. Then we went back into my room, and he took off his shirt. And it was just like, you know, my turtle had rode over, if you know what I'm saying. It was just cut. Right? And I said to him, mate, what do you weigh? And he said 118 kilos. And I thought to myself, JK, time to retire, brother.
What a man he was. What a specimen. And just he changed the game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was our first worldwide superstar. It's great.
Yeah. And one of the best video games of all time. Journal of Rugby. An absolute classic. An absolute classic. JK, predictions for today. How do you think the game will go?
Look, I obviously I'm an All Black, and I just can't wait to see the boys play. I think they've really turned a corner. It's been the most turbulent time in history, probably since 1986. You know, some of the things that have been happening internally, externally around the All Blacks has been very, very difficult. I think it's galvanized the team though, and I think they've come together. I think Ian Foster has also found the way that he wants to play, and I think he's got a couple of coaches there now that are really bringing some X factor. I think some of the things, if you are a purist, would be our inconsistency over 80 minutes, right? We play well, it's going to be a long day for anyone, right? But just recently we've been sort of, during the 80 minutes, been a little bit up and down. The other thing, and when you're old like me, we have some old school thoughts. So changing 7 players, also around combinations, 9, 10, 12, 13, all changed. You know, we go, how do you get rhythm, and how do you get that, you know, that sort of coordination that comes with time? But maybe I've been challenging myself. Maybe that's just an old school bullshit thing now, because guys play and it's so hard to play that you need to keep changing the team. I think the first 20 minutes will be the biggest 20 minutes that Scotland, if they want to break the drought of beating us, will be the most important. If the All Blacks start well and get a roll on, it'll be a long day. So the first 20 minutes, and then if the Scotland team can understand sometimes when we let the foot off the accelerator and take advantage of that, like Japan did, then it might be a long day. I think man for man, we've just got a little bit too much firepower if we play well.
JK, and did you keep up to date with the Finn Russell saga, you could call it? It's dragged on a little bit, but he's starting today. We've got a world-class player at 10, Blair Kinghorn on the bench. What do you think of that sort of scenario and setup? Do you think the All Blacks will look at Finn and try to nullify his threat?
Yeah, I mean, you've got superstars in your rugby team, and so they're superstars for a reason. I have not followed the saga. I don't know why he was left out. I'm sure everyone's got good reasons. He's come back into the side, and he will need to be great if he wants to steer the Scottish team will only win if he's great, right? Your first 5 is fundamental. Same with the All Blacks. When our first 5 is on fire, they're running the game, they're calm and collected under pressure, they're doing the right balance between run and kick. You know, the forward pack need to lay an absolutely amazing foundation for Finn, because if they don't get over the advantage line, he's going to have Dalton Papali'i coming at his ass all day, right? And we will be wanting to put him under pressure, because if you can break down that 9-10 combination, if you can put Finn Russell under pressure and he's having no time to make decisions, that's a hard day for anybody. So I'm pretty sure the All Blacks will be looking at him as a key player, and he deserves all that respect. And trying to get him to have a quiet day would be important for us winning.
Yeah, and absolutely. And just finally, Ardie Surveyor, I mean, his performance against Wales, we've all seen so many fantastic All Blacks performances, but did that stand out for you last week? What he did against Wales and how destructive he was?
I'll tell you Ardie Surveyor's journey, and I love the man. I think he's absolutely amazing, right? So in Nelson against Argentina, he was not named to start. And Sam Whitelock's brother was named to start at number 8 and got injured in the morning. Ardie Surveyor came in that day. Now, on that day, we're all talking about Ardie going overseas. He's not quite making the team. And he came out that night and he was player of the night. Pound for pound, he is absolutely amazing with ball in hand. And he has this incredible ability to keep going back to the well. And what we talk about when we talk about keep going back to the well, you're tired, man, and you just keep going. You keep getting up, you keep running. And so he's got X factor when everyone else is tired, and that's when he really brings his game. And so you think you've tackled him and you're tired and he's tired, but he's just got that extra bit. So his transformation from not quite making it to now being one of our leaders, one of our key X factor players. You talk about players who are X factor and who are great and who are leaders. It's when the game's tight. It's when you need someone to step up and do something. And he is someone we rely on to do that.
Yeah, outstanding. So, hey, it's all to play for. Scotland, as you say, they've got to step up, but we've got a team that we're proud of and we want them to march on. So this show, unfortunately, I'll get this out probably either tonight or tomorrow. The game will be over by the time this is released. But JK, I could speak to you all day, mate. I really appreciate you coming on. We've gone back and forth in emails. We've got it done, and you've spoken to me on game day. So I'm so appreciative of your time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you, and mate, thank you for sharing. Your mental health, what you're doing in your village. Every male, every female, we should not accept the suicide rates. We need to connect our communities. We need to make sure we get back to some of those old values. So, really happy to come on to your podcast, mate, and thanks for sharing.
Thank you so much. Take care and all the best today.
See you, mate.
Cheers.